My guest is Patricia Henderson, who took on the most interesting project during COVID. Tell me about it.
Well, we were wondering where we could meet that wasn't in our houses, so we decided we couldn't meet in coffee shops, which is where we like to meet and chat.
This is a friend of yours?
Yes, with my friend Martha.
Okay.
Yeah, because there were just two of us. We didn't have any other takers, so both of us walked probably, I'd say, 10 kilometers a day, maybe with one day off. And we'd met in a weight training class. And so we both thought we want to walk anyway, and we can't get together in gyms or coffee shops. Right. So why don't we just start walking and talking?
And you eventually covered every street in Kingston.
All 542 kilometers of the streets in Kingston, yes.
Wow, that is so interesting. I did a mini version of that the first spring of COVID. I had parts of my neighborhood I had actually never walked down or driven down.
Okay.
And so I picked blocks and I would go and walk around that whole area. And what I discovered was everybody else is the same boat. They're bored. So people were sitting in their front yard. This was like in April, May. They're sitting in their front yard. So they'd stop me, and all that. And I'd met the nicest people that way because we were distanced, but we could visit perfect strangers and visit. So did you run into any of that?
Oh,
did you?
A lot of that. Because first of all, we decided to do it old school, where we were using maps, not an app on our phone, which of course you can plug everything in and it gives you the path you're going to take. But I phoned the city and asked if they had a paper copy of all the maps, and they thought that was quite sort of interesting because everything's online now. So we did, and then whenever we'd walk certain sections, we marked it in colored marker. But while we were walking, everyone else was out. We met a lot of other walkers, more than normal because of COVID. And occasionally, not a lot, we got turned around and thought we won't look at our phones, we'll find someone and ask. And what was funny, probably 3 or 4 times we did that, and people had to look on their phone to tell us where in their neighborhood we had to go to get home. So they'd look on their phone, and we figured that wasn't cheating. So
right, that's different.
Yeah, that's
right. I mean, you could still be out there wandering.
Yeah.
So there's so many great streets in Kingston.
Yes.
And I'm not going to say what was your favorite, because there were probably way too many. But what were the surprises the things that you wouldn't have expected to see?
I think everyone's backyard was like a piece of art. You either had the gardeners who had cascades of flowers and bushes, and we of course walked through every season, rain or shine. Apple trees just laden with them. They had to have been so well taken care of. Little knickknacks that people would have, and certainly in the seasons where you'd find Halloween was hilarious, because I think people have a passion for hanging human limbs from the trees. We saw a lot of that. And of course, Christmas, the lights. I think I described in the story I wrote about it that one house looked like a giant Lego house, and they'd put the lights around all the bricks. So it was quite cute.
Yeah.
We saw some people had painted like a bookcase on a fence. Because it was COVID, another house had hung pink masks on different wires around the house, so it looked like an installation, an art installation. So I'd say that was really surprising. That of course we went in areas we'd never even been in, and every area sort of had its own personality, but everybody did something interesting with their yard. Some were full wild flower gardens. They weren't mowed or anything. So there was always something to look at. We noticed a lot of maritime flags, Newfoundland, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, out in front, and Canadian flags, of course. But yeah,
of course. Interesting. Maritime. How about I like to walk as well, and what I find interesting are the houses that I look at them and I say, that wasn't a house before. And then I go and do a little research to find out that it was a stables that has been converted into a house, or it was a factory and it's now been converted into a house. And I find that fascinating how, and I can't imagine the expense that goes into something like that, but fascinating that they didn't just knock it down, or maybe it may have been designated so they couldn't knock it down.
Yes, I think downtown you find more of that. I think more of that downtown.
Yeah.
And some of course, what we found is we'd end up after the walk with more questions, and then we'd go home and we'd research areas. Some of the hotels, you know, we'd heard stories that there are ghosts that walk, of course, through the ghost walks in town, and then it got us talking about why would the ghosts pick that building. And the best part of all of this was getting to know my walking partner.
Oh,
And
yes, of course.
yeah, that was, of course, it was wonderful seeing all the scenery and doing this, getting our exercise and everything, and doing it every single day, you know, rain or shine. I mean, every single week, rain or shine.
Right.
But one of the things that we discovered was when you walk, it's like driving in a car. You're not face to face, and there's a sense of intimacy that comes when you're focused forward. So we had known each other, but as we walked, and everything we saw prompted a question. Do you like that house? Do you like that style? Why would you like that style? How long have you been here? And then it just went into who are you? And I was out not that long ago, and a friend of mine is a therapist, and she said, you know, that's actually what she's doing with some of her clients now, that they walk around Lake Ontario Park while they talk, because it doesn't feel as stressful.
As sitting
face to face, like some people, you know, when you're driving with your teens, it's easy to chat.
I'm just thinking that, do you remember in the old days before dishwashers, when
Yes.
Right. It's the same thing.
Yes.
It's just enough to do to, you know, but you also, you're just distracted enough. And so some good conversations among family members.
Yes,
When you're,
for sure.
And drives are wonderful that
Yeah.
way. It's just enough. Yeah.
And that's what we
you
found.
found that.
We had a lot of laughs at things. You know, we'd see little unusual signs, like that there were aliens in the area. Somebody had posted a little sign, and those kind of things were so wonderful. Or someone on their street, they had one Christmas ornament on certain trees, just one. They didn't decorate the whole tree, and it was, you know, we just thought, I wonder why.
What's the significance? There's got to be a reason why.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
And of course, out towards Lemoyne Point, I mean, we have beautiful, beautiful landscapes
and
here.
within the city limits. That's
the water, I mean,
really. Oh, we are really lucky to live in this area.
yeah,
Yeah. So a lot of it would have been like not houses to look at, but
the scenery.
the scenery as
That's
well.
right.
Of course. Yeah.
And sometimes, interestingly enough, and it may be that funny invisibility thing that comes, you're walking and the conversations are so interesting. And we remember at one time, the university had just started, and the conversations from all the young students, you know, about how, well, Frosh Week is really exciting, but for next week when all the work starts, you know, they said it feels like summer camp, but I know things are going to change. And just wonderful, like, and such a wonderful feeling in the fall as everybody's back. And so we chose to do we did a lot of the downtown area first, and because after we had to start driving to places because we couldn't, you know, walk 10K to do another 10K. Well, I suppose we could have, but
yeah, why would you? No, the whole point was you cover every street. That's
right.
The whole idea.
Yeah.
So you walked how many days a week?
Just one on Saturdays because we're both working.
Okay.
So we just do about 2 hours on Saturday and then head off, and didn't see each other during the week because we were both busy, but we always just knew. I mean, occasionally we missed a couple of times, but never due to weather, always due to, you know, somebody had an obligation. But
So I'm just doing the math, so it'd be just over a year of every Saturday. to
We
cover
did 3
flight?
years.
Oh, it was over 3
Because
years.
some days we didn't want to get in the car to go out. So we'd
Okay.
say today's walking day, we're just going to walk along the water because we
Okay.
both just wanted to be there. Some, some streets are more difficult. The Sir John A, it's harder to talk. And some streets we had to walk, parts of Bath Road, we had to walk behind each other. It just was
Sure.
safer. There aren't sidewalks on every street. So
Oh, that's true too.
mostly
Of
there
course.
are. We were actually surprised. The big streets like Sir John A have great sidewalks.
Right, right.
But just the stretch going out towards DuPont and everything, and cars are going quickly, so we wanted to walk off the side a little bit.
Did you have any problems? I'm thinking dogs is what comes to mind. Dogs
Never
coming
a
at
dog. One time, actually, we were on a totally we were out on the West End, totally deserted street, and because it was COVID, sometimes we'd walk one on the far side of the sidewalk and the other person on the road, but not far on the road.
you. Right.
And this young man in a souped-up car came driving by, pulled over, crossed over in his car to us, and said, Get on the sidewalk. What are you doing? What are you doing out here? He seemed quite dismayed. And he drove away. And that was, we went, okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay.
I think there's no one else in the area. But that's the only time.
That's
Never a
right.
dog.
Never. No, didn't have any dogs coming at you.
No, we had people asking a few times what we were doing because
Oh, okay.
we'd stop at every, Martha in particular loved the little libraries.
Right.
So if people were in their driveway, they'd see us looking and then they'd say, oh, have you come far? And that got us talking. And a few times we'd take a book or two, but not too often because then you had to carry it.
Yeah, right. Did you think you inspired anybody else to take up this, go out walking? It's the one thing we can do these days.
It is
Yes,
true.
During the pandemic, we were very limited in our activities. Do you think you inspired anybody?
Well, I think the distance, like that we set a goal, inspired people. We had seen, of course, it's not a new idea. There is actually a documentary film on someone who did New York. It took 7 years and he walked all part of New York. Another woman I read in the Globe had done a section of Montreal. So it is something that has been done. But what we did find when we talked about it is a woman on my street the other day said, oh, there's a group of us that go to Frontenac Park every Friday. And we started that in the pandemic. And so I think what people wanted to know is it seemed like such a big distance. And so, you just say, you can just start with a kilometer and
That's right.
just.
And would that be your advice to anybody who's thinking, hey, that's a neat idea. I get in shape, wouldn't cost me anything, get to know somebody a little
Yes.
better. Would you recommend it to somebody?
To everybody, all you need
Yeah.
are running shoes, good running shoes. And we went
Okay.
through a lot of pairs, like don't keep them for 2 years if you're doing this kind of mileage or kilometers.
Yeah.
And it is better with a buddy,
I think so.
someone to talk to. I mean, some days you just want to clear your head, but find a great buddy, great shoes. You can go online. The city of Kingston has all these maps there. And whatever town you're in, you could say, I'm going to just start exploring.
Right. Thank you so much for coming in today. This has been so interesting.
Well, thank you so much.